Sarah, go first.
Oh, all right. Well, let Miss Sarah go first. Would you give us your full name?
Sara
Your
Cherricks.
okay. And you were a tar in the beginning, right? And how long were you married?
Well, I was married 24 years the first time, and only about 2.5 years the second time.
Okay. That's the way it goes, huh?
Yeah, he passed away. Too bad.
Yeah. And when were you born? What was your date of birth?
Chincoteague, Virginia, right up the creek.
Right up the creek.
My grandmother's.
She wants to know the date you were born.
And I was 95 this past March.
Okay.
23rd.
Miss Jeanette, will give me your
I was born June the 30th, 1920,
and where were you born?
right on Cropper Street.
Proper.
Yeah, I remember building the firehouse. My brother and I used to like running the trenches at the dough. I remember building that. The time looked a whole lot different back then than it does now. The remains of the old Atlantic Hotel, the cement place I had in front of it was still there when I remember when I was going there in town.
Goodness.
The old Atlantic Hotel, it burned down before the big store did.
That was burned down in the first fire, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Lucille, where were you born?
Creek.
Up the creek. We got all these people up the creek.
I was born
Two houses
too.
from me.
And how long did you live there before you moved here?
7 years.
7 years. And you've lived
My
here.
grandparents.
This was your grandparents. Oh, up the creek, your grandparents. And who were your grandparents?
11, Rebecca, Lynch.
Lynch. Oh, okay. That was the Lynch family that started the Sanctified Church.
Yes, but my grandfather didn't belong. I think it was started in Delaware.
Or did you go to school over here on Church Street?
No,
You didn't go to school over here. Where was the first school you went to? Do you remember that?
it was a wooden building.
It was in back of
It was
the
back in the
brick
brick
stick.
right here.
Yes.
The wooden building we started school in. Then we moved to the brick building. We started school here at good old Chincoteague Island. Yeah. Started school right here at Chincoteague Grammar School. 2 years before I did. In the old wooden building. Yeah, it had a bell on top. No bell told. We moved we got a little higher up. We moved to the brick building. You did. I did too. I wasn't in your class, but I was 2 years behind you. I didn't start school here. I started school in August, September. Because my father was in the Coast Guard.
All those tars are
I
in the
didn't
Coast
start
Guard.
here till I was in the 5th grade.
Then you came back. But for some of the, did you have any brothers or sisters? Either one of you?
I did, yes. I had 2 sisters and a brother. Well, 3 sisters and a brother. One sister younger than me, Cassie younger than me, and an older sister, Virginia. She was 2 years older than me. And I went to the old wooden school that was in back of the brick school.
Yeah. That was a nice old school.
Yeah, you could run up and down those steps.
And the boys like to ring the bell.
Yeah, that's right they did.
How about you, Miss Sarah? Have you got any? You only child.
Lucille.
Lucille.
We're both only children.
Your only child. That must have been good.
I don't know if it's good or not.
Where are some of the different places you've lived on Chincoteague?
And they, I only lived in a little bungalow up the creek until I got married. Well, of course, I lived in Norfolk in Fredericksburg because I went away to school. Fredericksburg and in Norfolk too. And when I got through, I came back to Chincoteague. Then I moved to Norfolk with my new husband. I stayed there until after World War II. And then I came back home, started working at the base. Stayed there until the base closed. And I moved to Virginia Beach. Stayed there 5 years and came back.
What did you do at the base?
I was a secretary to the chief scientist.
That was a pretty fun job, I bet.
Wonderful.
How about you, Miss Jeanette?
Well, I never did much working, but back when I was married, my husband didn't think a woman was supposed to work. So anyhow, but after he had to go in the Navy, and he got sick with rheumatic fever and had to go to California. So when I was 17, I went out on a bus by myself to California. Stayed there 8 months. And we came home, it wasn't any place to live because all the little Eagle garages, they fixed them up and people. It was an army base over on the east, over New Church Road over there. And so it was wasn't any place to live. So we lived with my mother-in-law and Miss Taylor, Harry's mother, until we got our house built. We were the house built, first house on Maddox Boulevard. It wasn't even a road there when we built our house. They cut a road back 3 months after we moved in. So most people don't know Maddox Boulevard hadn't always been there, and we named it too. Because Wall said name it whatever we wanted. Wall Maddox is what I owned it. And so we built our house up there, and we were doing the house, and the horses would come look in the window at night. We had lamps where they didn't run electric down there. And when it was bad weather, we had to go across to Ocean Boulevard to park the car and walk across because the road was so bad. So anyhow, we lived there 3 months before they connected electric. I remember walking in the house and turning the light on. But we had used lamps. Oh, they were a mess.
What year was that?
1954. The year we came home from California. Harry was in the Navy, and he got sick with rheumatic fever, and sent him back to California. So after we came home, we stayed on Chincoteague, lived with his mother and father, and my mother and father until we got our house built. So anyhow, and I watched all the houses being built on Maddox Boulevard. And the one next door, where Dink Clark lived, well, he's not the one that built it, but he bought it when he got married. And I watched them build the house, and I watched them tear it down. It's a parking lot now for the ice cream place.
That's been a while ago.
It's been quite a while.
You said something about an army base on New Church Road.
Yeah, it was. It was for 2 or 3 years they had it there. Because I had a cat, a black cat. They used to go over there and they fed him. He got so big, people come in the house, they thought he was a dog. But anyhow, they fed him over there.
I didn't know about the army camp. That's something
Yeah,
new.
they had an army base over there.
I knew they had one over here on Ridge Road, but I didn't know about New Church.
Well, it was Church Street extended. Well, that's Ridge Road cuts in there.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
that's the one.
Oh, that's the one you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
But we were staying with Harry's mother at that time, so she was right on past Miss Taylor's house, not very far.
Did you ever hear anybody say what they were doing there at that base?
No, we never did know what they did anything. They were just there. Of course, most of the stuff was done over on the beach over Assateague and not Assateague, Wallace Island, and the base. And then my husband got a job there and worked there for 40 years, I guess. Well, I remember time looking so different than it does now. It was shaped different. It wasn't one straight road like it is now. It had a place that went off the shape button, had a sold coal.
Yeah.
And he had a great big block of coal sitting out front. And there was more houses in town then. I know it was a hat shop, because my mother went there once and they made her a hat. It had berries and flowers and ribbons on it. It was a fancy hat. But they made it for her right there in town. And Miss Lewis had the ice cream parlor.
Come see Miss Lewis again, honey.
Huh?
Come see Miss Lewis again,
Oh
honey.
yeah, that's what she'd always say.
I've heard my grandmother talk about that.
When I was 13 years old, I baked a cake. And so I took her a couple slices. And she thought they were so nice, she gave me a quart of ice cream. Anyhow, my brother, he was 2 years younger than me, Julian White. And we used to go there and get ice cream because we got a double dip. The two dips of ice cream. And he was small, he was 2 years younger than me, and he would drop his. And Miss Lewis would give him some more, but if Mr. Lewis was there, he wouldn't give him any. But we used to go there and get penny candy. They had penny candy and all kinds of candy.
Yeah.
And they had the best tuna fish sandwiches I've ever eaten. And she didn't tell anybody not eating popsicle how she made those. But they were good. That was a big treat. It was 10 cents for a tuna fish sandwich and $1 for a nickel for a drink. So if you had 15 cents, you could go there and get a tuna fish sandwich and a Coca-Cola. And movies was 15 cents to go to the movies.
You had several theaters to choose from then.
Yes. And we used to go to the one in town most years and years ago before my time. They had one across the street right in town. My father said he and mother went there. They were old movies, just short movies and everything.
And where would that have been?
That's, right to the entrance where you go over the bridge. It's a building had been torn down for years and everything. The church, Main Street was shaped different. It went off and then there was more houses on the road and everything. And Julian used to like walk on the curbing that they had for the old Atlantic Hotel after it burned down. I can remember a whole lot, but
You're doing pretty good. How about you, Miss Sarah? You got anything else you can remember?
Well, I don't know all that. I don't know what you want to know.
Just tell me anything.
I just had some little things that I remember, not especially not historical, but things that I remember a lot.
Yeah.
Like lying in bed early morning, way before daybreak, and hearing all the little engine putt-putts going down the creek, people going crabbing or going to catch clams, clams, little clams. I remember that. And hearing those little putt-putt engines going down the creek, all before daylight. And I guess they would clam all day until maybe in the afternoon. And then they'd come back and sell their clams at my grandfather's clam house. He shipped them
What was the name of
all
that?
over the United States.
What was the name of that? Your grandfather's clan?
Well, he was William J. Adams.
Okay. Okay.
Clams all over Buffalo. But anyway, I remember my grandmother a lot of times, if she didn't have anything for lunch, she'd get her little pan and go down to the landing, which was across the street, and down to the dock, and get him to give her some clams, and she'd make clam chowder. It was so convenient.
Yeah.
But anyhow, I remember those little engines that would pop up just about daybreak, and I could hear the rumble of the bridge. Cars going over the bridge, you could hear that easy. We were doing that at the creek.
was in the days before air conditioning. You had your
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
The old bridge was a wooden bridge, the first one.
At that time, that's been a long time ago, because 85 years ago, and earlier. I don't know.
What kind of games and all did you all play as children? Do you remember any games you played?
Hide and seek, and tag, and
Hopscotch and jump
what
rope.
Lucille and I used to do when we were little. And my cousin Helen, who lived in right near us too, we had playhouses, and we had little pieces of stuff that people in those days threw things outdoors. And you could go around in the yards and find little pieces of dishes, that were broken. And we all had our little dishes, and we fixed our little box, the wooden box, and called that a table. And we'd have a playhouse. And we were happy with that. It wasn't anything like, of course, we did get toys, I guess. I know I always got a doll. But we made use of things like little broken pieces of dishes and pretend that they were dishes, things like that. The children wouldn't think of doing today.
Lucille, I want you to tell me about this wedding you were in when you were a little girl, and you were the flower girl at the Methodist church.
Was it Mabel Leonard's?
Yeah.
You were?
Miss Mabel Leonard, when she and Henry got married, and you were the flower girl, and that was the first wedding. I think you told me at the Methodist church.
It was the first big wedding.
Okay. Would you have a real pretty little dress?
I forget who made it.
Yeah, we used to have our clothes made, a lot of them. Miss Cotton lived down the street. She used to make clothes for me.
Was it a big wedding with lots of flowers? I mean, lots of bridesmaids and everything? What?
She was
I
2 years
remember
older than
Lucille's wedding.
us.
Huh?
I remember Lucille's wedding.
Oh. How about your wedding? When was that?
That was modern.
That was modern days.
She lives here in this house.
Did you get married at home?
Wrong room there.
How long were you and Tig married? Can't remember, huh? It was a long time ago. How about your mom and dad? They owned the 5 and Dime out of town.
Yes.
And what was your dad's name? I know this room, but I don't remember his first name.
Reese.
Reese. And your mother was Miss Lottie.
Lida.
Lida. Yeah, not Lottie, Lida. Lyda, wasn't it?
L-Y.
I remember buying the first permanent press sheets there at the dish range. The first ones when they first came out, I gave them to my mother-in-law, Miss Taylor, for Christmas. And boy, she loved those sheets. You could wash them. We put them right back on the bed, because back then we used to have ironer sheets.
Yeah.
And pillowcase, starch, and iron. Well, we did a lot of ironing back then.
I remember that much.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's not very old, but I remember that.
Oh, that was something else.
Yeah.
But then when your parents died, you started running this dime store, didn't you? Didn't you run the dime store after your parents died?
Yes, yes.
It's been a long time. You just don't remember.
I don't remember.
Okay. Let's see, what else have we got?
We didn't have any place to go swimming on Chincoteague when I was little. And we used to have to go down to the government dock right at Maddox Boulevard, and across that was the government dock. And that's where my father was on late shift. He'd come in, but he was on leave and everything. My brother and I, Julian, we'd swim out and meet the launch that was bringing them in. They'd tow us on to the dock. And we used to have to get on monitors. You had to jump overboard and grab hold of a rope or something, because all it had was a big tar that you could climb down on or jump over, and then you climb back up. But we used to get on one of those monitors that they carried oysters on, and we would jump off that in the water and everything. So we all learned to swim. Well, when I was about 6 years old, I guess I learned how to swim. And my brother was 2 years younger. He was only 4, and he learned how to dog paddle. And we used to swim from there. We recorded which time the tide was going. We'd go turn into this dock, or come back and go down to the railroad dock. They had a railroad that came over, brought produce and everything over. And we'd go there. They had a place we could get up. And we used to climb up the bridge and jump off and go whichever way the tide was going. We weren't supposed to do it,
But you did.
the man
That is a long swim.
they had a bridge tender that he'd come running up the bridge. Of course, he was old, and my brother and I, we could get up on the bridge through a trap door, climb up from the water, and then jump over on the other side. Because that wasn't any place on Chincoteague you could go swimming, except wherever you could find a place to go.
Yeah.
Finally, they built a place over in front of Pony Pines, and they had a swimming board, which is a diving board, and we went there, but we didn't have any pools or anything like that on here.
What y'all do as teenagers?
Well, we'd walk uptown and go to Miss Lewis's and get a tuna fish sandwich and a Coke, or go to the movies. We went to the movies a lot, and of course go to school in daytimes. And some nights my girlfriend and I would just walk uptown. We didn't have anything special we could do, but we just walked uptown and back and thought that was okay.
Miss Sarah, what did you do?
Well, Lucille and I went to Pony Pines.
Oh,
We liked to dance. We were teenagers.
okay.
Yeah, that was heaven on earth to us. Pony Pines.
Was that before?
She didn't dance, I don't think so. She didn't pay attention to that.
A little bit.
That's where we like to
My
go.
boyfriends didn't dance. They liked to go skating. We used to go roller skating. They had
Oh, where did you go roller skating?
over in Pines, and the casino had a place called the Casino, and they had a big skating rink. So we used to like to go there. And they
Where
had
was the casino?
the casino? It was next to the Pines.
Next to the pond.
But that was torn down years ago.
Sometimes if we weren't having a good time, well, we go to the casino.
Well, I didn't drink or smoke or anything like that. I went to Sunday school and did church and everything. And they used to have Old Buell Church. After we went to Sunday school at our church, we'd go up there and go to that afternoon service. Of course, we walked all the way from that to Buell Church and go there. And then we would go to Sunday school at the regular church and stay for the preaching too. So I went to church a lot, and they had BYPU, different places. At night we'd go visit other churches down in the county and everything. And of course I did a lot of that. I didn't go to Pony Pines.
Well, you did all that, you didn't have time for pony pines.
No, I didn't. I used to like to go roller skating.
How about, what else did you do, Miss Sarah, besides dancing at the pond?
Well, sometimes, I remember one time we slipped away and went down to the bottom of it.
Oh,
I think our mothers were sitting outside and we decided we'd and we took off and went down to the bottom of it. There's a lady and her daughter were there. It looked now, it had been a church at one time. They had a little dance place down there. Mrs. name was. Anyway, she had a Nickelodeon in there, and people could dance once in a while, and that's where we went.
where was that?
I
Where was
remember
that?
doing that one time.
Where was that?
It was around Temperance-ville. So
Somebody had a car.
I guess.
Somebody must have had a car for you to go to Temperance-ville.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, some of the boys, all the boys had a car. You know, most of them. Some didn't. But if they didn't, they'd take the other boys too.
What are some of the things you remember about historically, the historical events that went on?
I
Or
don't know.
anything? You remember anything
I
about it?
remember when the big store burned
I heard
down.
stuff down here and I can't see it to read it. See?
I could see all the smoke and flames. They didn't have a fire company here at that time, but they organized one after the Atlantic Hotel burned down. And the big store was a great big store. The man that had the mansion on the corner, they owned it. And I've got some furniture now that come from there. And anyhow, my mother, I was in baby carriage, and she went to Mr. Clark had a funeral place on Proper Street where he embalmed people and stuff. And so we went to that back of that, and we could see the flames and everything from the burned up store. And so after that is when they decided to have a fire company. I went with Bill Lorsch to the first meeting they had to organize the first carnival so they could buy a fire engine. They had a little one you could pull the hand and a little tank on it. That's all they had for his fire equipment. So they organized the carnival, first carnival, and it was right in town. It's in the back there. I lived on Proper Street. I just take across from next street, Cleveland Street, and so they had a carnival. Well, they had built temporary structures with canvas over them and stuff like that. And it seemed like most every pony penny they'd have a bad storm, and it would damage the carnival grounds. You could go on a ride for 10 cents, and you could get an ice cream cone for a nickel. And we had 25 cents every night during the carnival on pony penny. We got 50 cents to spend. And my brother and I used to cut across Miss Lee Watson's. She lived over on Cleveland Street when they had the horses there. I never would get in the pen with the horses, but I was afraid of them. But a lot of people would get kicked for a bit or something. And I remember when Misty's, the little Misty, and they used to take the back seat of a car and put a horse in that. That's how they would take them back and everything. But of course now they have to have trailers and everything. The carnivals are in town. I don't know how many years it was in town, but finally they moved it down.
Wasn't that sort of where the Island Theater is?
Yeah.
Right behind that?
Right next to the house that is there. Earl Watson used to live there. He had ice cream parlor across the street with us on one side. On the other side, it was tobacco. Men used to hang out there and everything. My father would go down there and when he'd come back home, he'd bring us a quart of ice cream and had dip it up by hand and pack it, and it seemed like it was good that way. The carnival was there for several years before they moved it down the street. And Marjorie Henry bought Misty there when it was still in town.
Were you there today? They sold it?
No, I wasn't there, but I heard about it.
Miss Sarah, have you read your list yet? Figured out what you got
I
ready?
had a job seeing it, I'll tell you. I wrote it, but I can't read it. I wrote it.
You can't read
And
your
I think it's all written all right, but I can't read it.
Well, just tell us anything you can think of.
Let's see.
She was gone so much, when she was growing up and
Yeah.
everything.
We had a lot of grocery stores on the island
Yeah.
at that time. Now we don't have it. But every little community, like up the creek, we had 3 grocery stores.
They had
And up the neck they had one. And every section of Chincoteague, there was a grocery store. Of course, now we don't have it, but the one. It was very convenient.
Somebody told me that they had their own post office up the creek or up the neck, I believe it was, at one time.
What was
That
that?
there was a post office up the neck at one time.
After that was a post office. I don't remember that.
I don't think so.
I only remember the one post office in downtown. But they made that.
May have been back before your time.
She don't remember who.
And I remember
She said she doesn't remember.
the noise of the cars going over the bridge at night. when you lie in bed, you could tell when somebody was wrong.
They were all wooden and it made a rumbling noise when you went across the bridges.
Did the high school ever have any dances or any parties or anything?
Oh, yes. Every graduation they would have a dance. Sometimes they'd take the top floor and have a little orchestra and everything. We would dance like that too. And had different rooms with different people in them, did different things. You remember when they used to sing, I can't remember her name now. I can't remember, but they had different things in different rooms and everything. We had a big party. And of course we had dancing there too. And then I used to like play the drums when the little orchestra had. If they got tired of playing them, I'd play them for them while they danced.
Yeah, I don't remember that.
So you weren't here then. You don't remember all the parties we had at the school. When I was in the junior class, we had a big, well, we had them before that too, but these were a little bit bigger and everything in high school.
Did you have any sports that you played in school?
Now, I tried basketball one time, but I was too slow for it. Didn't run up that fast. Yeah, they had baseball and basketball. They had a good basketball team. They won championships several times. Nelson Jester was on it. I remember an English player. He was principal of the school for a while. But he was a student who just graduated when I first remember him playing basketball. He was good. And then they had football and races and everything. And once a year we'd go down to the county and they'd have the schools met there. And we could buy our lunch there and everything. And they made different projects. Like I had to write a book one time. And you had to have a pen and black ink and write it like that. I could write pretty good back then, so they gave me that job. And you would buy your lunch, stay in the county and everything. All the different schools went there. We had to go over in the back of a truck the first time because the road had just opened, hadn't been open too long. They didn't have it fixed up very good. We all stood up in the back of the truck and went down to the county to all these different schools met there.
Do you remember, it's probably even before your time, do you remember when they first got electricity on the island?
No, but I remember when they first got water, because I remember them digging the ditches and everything. Before that, we had cisterns on the side of the house. Some of them had them in the ground, but you drank the water that came off the roof. That's what went in the cistern. My father would take it down every 6 months and clean it out. Everything, then put it back on the side of the house, and it would run from the roof into that. And we had a sink in the kitchen, and we didn't have any hot water or anything, just cold water. And that's what we used water for. Yeah,
Like you'd see a horse and cart going in, and somebody sitting in the back of it. And I remember one particular man was Clarence Charles, and he had Merritt boy married your next door neighbor, Helen Merritt's husband.
Oh yeah.
What's his name?
Paul Merritt.
Paul Merritt was a little boy, and this Clarence Tar and his wife adopted him. It was Clarence's sister, I think. It was his mother. And anyway, they lived in a horse and cart. And you could see people in the horse and cart over there.
And they used to come plow your gardens too. They had a mule that plowed your gardens.
And once in a while, a horse would be going out down the street. You know, he'd get loose or something. That would happen occasionally. It's good old country at the time when I was little.
Yeah. How about the Wheeler plagues?
Yeah. Well, at our school, it wasn't the school putting it on, but they used the school auditorium, and there was this couple of students, we were, that went to different places and put on these big plays, I remember one particular one, but we had several during my stay. It was real good, you know, and my cousin used to play the piano very well, and she always played for it. They would use local people.
High school students.
And the one particular one I remember, Punch and Claude Savage were the main people, the couple. They were a young married couple at that time. But they used the people from the town for different things. And Roy Talbert was in it too. And he was usually the master of ceremonies. He was a good one. I remember those. I think they came here 3 or 4 times.
I was in some of them, sir.
And they filled that school auditorium.
Are they variety shows type of thing?
So they have a dance line. I know one time I was in it one time, and we had a garland made we were supposed to carry and everything. So the night of the play, this woman next door curled my hair and everything, and because I always had straight hair, I had to get permanently. Anyhow, I went to the school and I left my garland home. I had run all the way home, and it was half missed and everything, and the whole curl come out of my hair. And I had to get up there on stage and go through the dance routine and all that with my hair hanging down in my face. I was in 2 or 3 of them, the ones that they had there.
It sounded like they were a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun.
How about bad storms?
Oh my. We used to have
bad storms come up.
It used to be Pony Penny Day that had the worst storm that night. That's when they did so much damage when they had it in town. Because they just had canvas roofs, and it was just to put up something, not permanent like they have it now and everything. And we would have and when they moved down the county, it would start raining. My brother and I would run all the way home. And I lived on Cropper Creek then. I could run pretty good back then.
Do you remember one particular storm, Miss Sarah?
Yeah, I remember one particular storm when I was little. I had to stay down there with my grandmother Tara, which was maybe 3 or 4 houses down the street from our house. Our house was way up high. Never came in there. Yeah, I remember having to leave home and stay with my grandmother during the storm. But I wasn't here when the 62 storm came.
I was here.
I was living in Virginia Beach at that time. And my mother and father were down there visiting me. And the water came up in my house here, in our house on Ocean Boulevard.
Came in my house too.
There was
Had new heat put in.
there was a storm in what, 32?
62.
No, that was earlier,
62.
in 30s.
1934, 1933, Lucille and I were with my father, who was in the Coast Guard, up 5 miles above Ocean City. And that was the first big storm anybody ever remembers, I think, the 1933 storm.
Come in
That was terrible, and we were 5 miles above Ocean City, right on the ocean during that storm. I didn't realize how bad it was. If I did, I'd been scared. But I don't know if Lucille realized how bad it was or not. But
Where were you staying? Where were you staying up at
we
Ocean?
were at the Coast Guard station,
In the Coast Guard.
and we were in it was an inactive Coast Guard station, and my father was there, and he had one man with him from Ocean City. It was 5 miles above Ocean City. That's where we were, and see, at that time, nobody got any warning. There was no warning. Nobody knew how. We had no warning. And there we were. And I remember, if that hadn't been for the sand hills in front of that Coast Guard station, we would have been gone. And that's when the Ocean City inlet was cut. And Lucille's mother and father, I know they were nearly crazy. They drove up there, and they couldn't get across to Ocean City because something happened to the bridge. And they didn't know. It was very bad. They knew what their daughter, where their daughter was, and how she was. And no way to get in touch with anybody. It was, that was 1933, and it's surprising how much they didn't know at that time, and how much they've learned since, you know. But that was a bad storm.
The water came from the ocean that time, and it come in our backyard up to our top step, but it didn't come in the house that time. I know I was a little girl, I put on my father's boots the other night and fell down. And the boots got full of water and I got wet and everything. But it was a bad storm.
Anybody have any more good memories they'd like to?
I got plenty of them, I can't think of.
Well, I remember going over to the beach, and the horses being able to come up to the young in the car. I mean, the car, you could feed them and all. Can't do that anymore.
I remember one winter that it froze and everything, and it took part of the bridge out. And so couldn't get across off Chincoteague that time. Finally, then put it back and everything.
I'd like to know how each of you met your husbands.
Well, I was going to school. He worked for the gas company. He used to have a gas company on Street City. And he stopped, he and another boy that was working with him, would stop and pick up me and my girlfriend. And that's where I met my husband. He was wanting to work for the gas company. And I met him like that. That's when I was in the junior in high school. He worked for the gas company up until he was drafted. And of course he had to go away. I went out to California and stayed 8 months. He got rheumatic fever and was in the hospital in California.
Did you get married here on Chincoteague?
No, we were married in Pocono. And anyhow, we had a small wedding in Pocono. And that was 1938 when I got married. I was 18. I waited till I was 18. I didn't get married before I was 18. I graduated when I was 17. So I waited a whole year before we got married. He was a good husband. We lived together until he died.
How many years were you married?
60-something, because he got married in 1938 and he died in 2002, I think it was. So, of course, he had several small strokes, and anyhow, that's what killed him. He worked over to the base and he got asbestos, worked with that. He said they used to dip it right out, mix it with water and coat the pipes with it. They didn't know it would hurt you back then. But anyhow, they found out after that, and that's probably what killed him. But anyhow, he had a long marriage.
Did you have children?
No, we never could have any children. We thought about adopting one time. Because an aviator got killed over on the base, and his wife was going to let her 2 children out for adoption. A little boy and a little girl that were cute so they could live. But she decided she couldn't part with them, so we didn't get them. So, but I never got pregnant or anything. We both wanted children. I asked my husband when we got married, wait a year before we had one, but we just couldn't have them anyhow, I guess.
How about you, Sarah? How did you meet your first
I
husband?
have one daughter. She's going to be 66 in October.
How did you meet your husband?
Well, I think I met him at Tony Pines, probably. He had some people here in Chincoteague. He was visiting, and he came up occasionally after we got together. You know, he came up as often as he could, but he had. Of course, I went with him when I was in school in college. And he was so faithful about writing me. He'd write me as I get a special delivery every Sunday. And we got married after. But then after that, after I left college, I went to a business school down in North. I stayed there 6 months, and I got a job at the telephone company. And I stayed there a little while, and I didn't like it much, so I came home. And then he started coming up here to see me. And that's when we got married. And I went back to North to live. And this was before the war. Then came the war. And of course he had to get in the service like everybody else. And we had a little apartment, and everybody who had to go to war came to Norfolk, and they all came to our apartment. We had company all the time. So after the war, he had worked for the government before. And so anyway, after we came home after the war, and we stayed home. We just stayed home.
Where was he from?
He was from Norfolk, and and we stayed here till the base closed. He worked at the base, and I did too. And we had a baby during when I was both working there. I was pregnant, and I stopped working for a couple of years. But I had so much help. My mother was there all the time, and my grandmother. I lived in my grandmother's house. We had an apartment there, and that's right up the creek. And so I thought, well, I got all this help. I might as well go back to work, because they called me and nobody didn't want a job, and they had one. So I decided, yeah, I'll go back to work, and I'm glad I did, because my mother was tickled to death to take care of my daughter. You know. She had been a school teacher herself, and she taught her, and she knew how to read long time before she went to school. So when Marguerite, my girlfriend, was a teacher, and so when she went to school, she went in Marguerite's first grade class, and she would let her sit on the bed, on the desk, and read to the children. They thought that was great, because she could read. But anyway, that was the early. And I worked there 12, 13 years. You know, 12 or 13 years before the base closed. And then we moved to Norfolk, Virginia Beach.
What was Christmas like for all of you? Christmas.
It was a whole lot
The
different than it
holiday.
is
What
now.
was that like?
What was Christmas like?
Like,
Where? Here. How did you celebrate? What did you do?
Well, I guess just like everybody else, we had Christmas trees, Santa Claus, as long as we could.
Did you have any special food for dinner?
Usually a turkey.
Anything really good?
my father was on the lake ship, winter quarter lake ship, when I was growing up and everything. And my mother would get a Christmas tree and lock it in one of the outhouses. And we never saw the tree until we got up Christmas morning. She would trim the tree and put out all her stuff. We had a buffet in the dining room, and she would fill that with candy and oranges and all kinds of fruit that we didn't get all the time. They had it special for Christmas. That's when I was little. And each one would get just a little. We didn't get stuff like kids do now, but we got games and things like that. And my mother had all 5 children, and she would fix all 5 of our things, and we didn't see them till we got up that morning. I got a baby in a baby carriage, and I didn't like playing with babies. I like playing ball with my brother and everything, football and baseball. But anyhow, I got a doll every year, but I'd give it away, give it to a girl that lived down the street. Mostly she would make a new dress for my new doll, and I'd keep it a while and I'd give it to her. She had a whole trunk full of doll babies that I'd given her. We like to put cats in our baby carriage, and I used to dress them up too, and drive them around in the baby carriage. So Christmas was a whole lot different back then. You didn't get as much stuff back then as you get nowadays. But we could get up anytime we wanted, my brother and I, usually. And we sometimes Mother said she'd just get to bed, be finished, and we'd get up and go out and start. We could eat anything we wanted, fruit or nuts, candy, and all kinds of stuff like that. We could eat all we wanted on Christmas morning. And Mother would usually have a turkey for Christmas dinner and everything. And we didn't get a lot of stuff like kids do now.
How about you, Lucille? You got anything else you want to add?
Just listen. I'm agreeing with them.
They're telling it like it is.
Yeah.
She should remember more than we do, because she's 2 years older.
She's not very talkative today.
Not today.
Well, I wish I could I can tell you something.
However,
Well, go ahead.
I remember being at the wedding she had here.
But what?
I knew her roommate from Florida. She had a roommate in school from Florida. She visited her once in a while. And then the roommate came up here and stood up with her when she was married. She was married right there in that living room in front of that window. She had a lot of boyfriends, a lot of people, a lot of dates.
I knew
I
one of
remember
them.
one time my parents were going to Baltimore and she was going and she wanted me to go with her, so they would take me. So the two of us went to Baltimore. Anyway,
too far for the snow.
yeah, they would, I had to go with her, her parents were. So she had this date with a boy, actually, he was doctor's son from here. I don't know if he still in Baltimore, but anyway, he wanted to take her to dinner and they wouldn't let her go unless I went with him. I felt like a fifth wheel, which I was. But I had to go with him so she could go to dinner with him. I know he enjoyed that. I was so. Anyway, we had all kinds of little situations. I can remember going on a hayride one time. We went to Christmas on a hayride. We had a good time up there. I don't know how we got to go. But we did.
Well, if you all don't have anything else, we'll call it a day.
Different things come to me at different times
I
and
know.
everything. You can't think of everything.
No. Do you have any more questions?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Well, thank you very much.
I would try to
Well,
think
I
of a
don't know
lot
if
more
you-
if it would come to me.
Heard anything of it?
Does anybody know how the name Ticktown came about?
How the name Ticktown came about. How the name Ticktown came about.
Ticktown.
Yeah, that's it.
I
Well,
don't know how that
I
got
did. I
there.
lived on Proper Street.
Maybe they had ticks. That's probably what it was.
but you say you know Jeanette?
Yeah, well, I know that they called it Tick Tang because it used to have a lot of ticks there. There was a lot of woods and bushes and stuff, and they had a lot of ticks and everything. So they called it Tick Tang. They used to have a store there too. I used to have little stores all over the Chincoteague. And I remember I was a girlfriend with a Copley girl, Ruth Copley. And her mother had chickens and eggs and everything. And sometimes Miss Copley would give us an egg. We'd go to the store and get candy. They'd give us candy for this egg. Of course, sometimes we took a dozen eggs and we got money for it too. But that's the way it was on Chincoteague back when I was little. We just had penny candy mostly, or that's all I ever got to buy. But they had little stores all over Chincoteague.
How about the hucksters that used to
Oh
come?
yeah, they used to come around. Mother would buy chickens and all kinds of stuff for them. Watermelon in the summertime, I remember them especially. My brother and I, he wanted the biggest piece of watermelon. Every time Mother would cut the watermelon, he wanted the biggest piece of it. Anyhow, that's the only way we got watermelon. And my father used to have a garden and grow bees and string bees, and used to have some little ducks and chickens and stuff, but they didn't last too long. It was too much for Mother with 5 children to take care of to do that. So anyhow, we got rid of those. But a lot of people on the street, they used to raise their own chickens and everything. I know Harry's mother, Estelle, she raised chickens. She'd get some little bitties or put eggs and let the hen set on and get eggs. And when the chickens, little ones grew up, well, when you got your first fried chicken, it was delicious because you raised it yourself. She had a chicken yard where she raised chickens and everything.
Chicken and dumplings.
Well, I never liked dumplings. One thing, I still don't like them to this day. But we used to have chicken and dumplings every Sunday. Once in a while we had roast beef or pork or something like that, but lots of times it was chicken.
Chicken was a good food.